So let's get started. So ladies and gentlemen, this is your new section, Chapter 8. We've broken Chapter 8 into 2 parts, so this is Part 1. So we'll go through these 4 sections of polynomials, and then we'll take our little test. And then I have another section, which is 8.5 through like 8.9 or something like that. So again, we'll separate it, okay? So it's trying to make it so it's not some monster test, okay? So this is smaller. All right, ladies and gents, so here we go. We got Chapter 8.1, Notes, Day 1. We're adding and subtracting polynomials in this section, okay? So goal number 1, we're going to state the degree of a polynomial and classify a polynomial by its number of terms. And then we'll start talking about adding and subtracting these things, okay? So number 1 thing is we got to know what the degree is, and we got to be able to classify that number of terms. Okay, so first things first, a monomial. A monomial is a number, a variable, or a product of a number and variable in one or more variables. So if I take a look, these are all monomials, like the number -9. Have you guys heard of mono before? Mono, the root word of monomial is mono means one, as one term, okay? Now, terms are separated by pluses and minus signs, okay? So a monomial has one term, -9. Y is a monomial. 7a is a monomial. 3y cubed and 1/2 a, b, c to the 5th. These are all monomials, okay? Well, by definition, a polynomial is a monomial or sum of monomials. So, for example, x is a polynomial. X is a monomial also. X plus 2 is an example of a polynomial. X plus y plus z, and that's my z, guys. I put little slashes through so I can tell them apart. That is also an example of a polynomial, okay? This one right here, x has one term, x plus 2 has 2 terms, and x plus y plus z has 3 terms. Again, terms are separated by pluses and minuses. Get it so you can see it. Terms are separated by pluses and minuses. All right, so binomial. Have you heard of the word bi before? B-I. Binomial. What is binomial? Yeah, binomial means 2, right? So binomial, an example of that would be the x plus 2. Okay, or maybe x plus y. Something where you have 2 terms, or maybe x minus 2, or x minus y. And again, terms are separated by pluses and minuses. A trinomial is like a triangle, right? Triangle has 3 sides, 3 angles. A trinomial has 3 things. Has 3 terms, like x squared minus 2x minus 5, something like that. That's an example of a trinomial. Okay? So here's the idea. Big idea here. You got the monomials. So mono, like x. Okay? And then you got the binomials, right? That's like x plus 2. And then you got the trinomials. That's like x squared plus x plus 2. Okay? And then those all reside in the big family of polynomials. The big polynomial family. Does that make sense? So polynomials could be a monomial, could be a binomial, could be a trinomial, or it could be a term that has 4 terms, like x cubed plus x squared plus x plus 2. It could have 5 terms, 6 terms, 7 terms, I don't know. But they stopped and giving them special names after 3. They're like, okay, 3, that's enough. Okay? Mono, bi, tri, and then after that, they just classified as, okay, that's just a polynomial. Okay, there's no special name for it. All right, any questions, guys, about the idea of the polynomial family? You got monomials, binomials, trinomials, and then after that, it's just regular old polynomials. Well, the first thing we got to do is to state the degree of a poly. And this specifically, we're looking at the degree of a monomial. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the sum. What does sum mean, y'all? Colton? Total. And total means addition, right? We're going to find the sum, the total, the addition of the exponents of the variables. And that's its degree. So on the first monomial, I have 5x squared. Well, what's this guy? Exponent. Is that just a 2? So we would say that's a degree 2. Okay, so we call that degree 2. So I look at the next one. I've got 4ab cubed c to the 4th. Okay, so I take a look at that. Let me zoom in because those exponents are really small for me. So it's got to be small for you. All right, what's the exponent for a, y'all? 1. Let's put a little 1 there so you don't forget about it. And now take all the variables exponents and add them together. So all these little numbers here. So I got 1 plus 3 plus 4, and that's how much? What is that guy? 8. So we would say that has degree 8 for that monomial. Okay. All right, last but not least, we have negative 9 with no x's, with no variables. So guess what this guy's degree is? That guy's 0. And the reason is, if you want to put an x there, you can, but it's like 1, right? Negative 9 times 1 is just negative 9. Negative 9 times x to the 0 is negative 9 times 1. There's no exponent, so we would call that degree 0. So again, big idea, if you don't see a variable, that guy's degree is 0. Okay? Well, now we got to look at the degree of polynomials. When we look at degree of polynomials, you essentially do the exact same thing we did, but then we take the greatest of each. So the greatest number. Okay? So I look. What's the degree of the first guy? 8x cubed. What's the degree of that guy? 3. Right? So that guy's 3. Then I look at the middle guy. What's the degree of negative 2x squared? 2. Audrey's giving me the peace sign. And then what's the degree of the last guy? 0. Now, if I want the degree of the actual poly, I look at the largest one. So my largest one is this guy, 3. So final answer, the degree is 3. Yes, ma'am?
I thought that the coefficients, like the numbers, or I mean like
exponents?
No, like the big numbers.
Yep.
I thought those had exponents.
They do, but if you're looking at, it's a good question. If you're looking at degree, it's only, you look up here, it's only of its variables, not of its coefficients. So that's a great question. So do not include the exponents of the numbers in front. Okay, just the x's, y's, z's, a's, b's. Okay, great question. All right, any questions there? So you look at each term individually, find its degree, and then it's the largest one is your final answer. Okay, so let's look at this guy. So I cover these guys up. I have 6x squared y. What's the degree of that guy?
I had a question on that.
Oh, you have a question? Yes, sir.
So for the 8x to the power of 3, how is that more steps than the negative 2x to the 2? Because it's also the negative. Does that do anything? Is it still?
You're just looking at the exponent here, guy. So you're just looking at this guy in terms of degree. Degree is only looking at the exponents of the variables. Okay, so that x cubed is to the third power, so that's degree 3. X squared is to the second power, that's degree 2. And then this guy has no x, no variable, so that's just 0. Okay, so let's try it again. Let's look at this next one. I have 6x squared y. Only look at the x and y. Don't even care about the 6. What does the exponents add up to? What's the sum of those guys? What do you guys get? X squared and y. More than 2. If you don't see a little number there, put a little 1 there. That's 2 plus 1, which is 3. You guys okay with that? So if I just had that monomial, that's degree 3. Okay, now I do the next one. I have 5x cubed y squared z. That z doesn't have an exponent, so I'm going to put a little 1 there, so don't forget about it. Now add those exponents together. 3, 2, and 1. 3, 2, and 1 give you how much? Damien? 6. Whoa. And then I got another term. I just have negative x. Do you see that guy? What's the degree of that one, Kai? That guy's 1. And then I have x squared, y squared. So what do you get there, London? There we go. Now, that's the degree of each individual monomial, right? But now they want to know what's the degree of the actual polynomial. So you look for the largest one. So Dan, what's the largest one? There we go. It's this guy. So monomials, you add them up. Polynomials, you look for the greatest one. Guess what the common mistake is?
Adding.
Yes, sir. You do the adding, you do the adding, you do the adding, you do the adding, and then you add them all up. And that's where the mistake happens. Okay? Don't forget to take the greatest number for the poly. Okay? All right. So we take a look at the last one. I've got 24x squared y, put a little 1 there. Rylan, what's the exponent? What's the degree of this guy?
3.
Yep. X squared and y to the first, that adds up to 3. I take a look at the next one. I got negative 12x cubed y squared. Just look at the x and y, Griff.
5.
There you go. And then I have 6x to the fourth. Ryan, what do you get there, bud?
4.
There you go. But I want the biggest guy, and we know the biggest guy is this guy. So hopefully you see the difference between monomials and then binomials, trinomials, or polynomials. Okay? So look at each one individually, and then take the greatest of them. It's an additional step. Do you guys have any questions there? All right. Now we got some examples. I'm going to zoom out so we can read this here. Now I can zoom in if needed. It says, write each polynomial in standard form. It says, name each polynomial based on its numbers of terms and state the degree. So we got a few things we got to do. First things first, standard form. Standard form is descending order. Can you guys tell me what happens when you're on an airplane and you're descending? Everybody's giving me the down look, right? It's going down. Hopefully it's not descending very fast, right? It's going nice and slow. Unlike the movie Lost, or show Lost. Anybody seen the show Lost? No? Oh, did you like it? No?
I got through like the first season, and then I just
You just couldn't handle anymore?
Yeah.
You're too scared? It wasn't a good show for you. Well, that's JJ. That's JJ Abrams. So descending order. So that's for your exponents. So your exponents, if we call standard form, we want to write it in descending order. So the power of x goes smaller and smaller and smaller. Or the power of a, or whatever you're dealing with. Okay? So as I take a look, I've got number 1, I've got 7a minus 3 plus a squared. The first thing I do, if I want to write descending order, I take the largest exponent, which is what term? Who's the biggest guy? Colton? Yeah, a to the second, so we write that guy first, a squared. Then I do the next term. I have a 7a to the first, so that's plus, that's a positive, right? 7a. And then the last term has no a value, so that's minus 3. So you can see the power of a is going smaller and smaller, right? It goes 2, 1, none. And that's what I want. I want descending order so that the exponents are going down. All right, so next we got to name the polynomial. What is this thing called when it has 1, 2, 3 terms?
Isn't that like the pie?
Yes, triangle,
I've got
trinomial. Trinomial. This is a trinomial. The reason why it's a trinomial, it has 3 terms. Remember, terms are separated by pluses or minuses. So that guy's a trinomial. Boom. Degree. Look at the degree of this guy. I got a squared, 7a to the first, and no a. What's the largest exponent? Okay? 2. We call this degree 2. Eventually in pre-calculus and calculus, we call this a quadratic, or something to the second power. Okay? And eventually that makes a fancy graph called a parabola. We're not quite there yet. Okay? So I got, this is written in descending order. This is called a trinomial, and we have degree 2. So I take a look at number 2. I've got 4x cubed minus 8x to the 8th. First thing I want to do is write in descending order. So I look at the largest exponent. Katya, what do we have for the largest exponent? 8. And we write that guy first. So we write this one first, negative 8x to the 8th. And then we got to separate the next term with a plus or minus sign. So is 4x cubed positive or negative? It's positive. If there's no symbol there, then it's assumed that you know that's a positive 4. So you've got to put a plus there. So you have to have a plus or minus sign. And if there's no plus sign initially, well, that means that it's got to be positive. If this was a negative, there would be a negative in front, right? All right, so we wrote this in descending order. So the power of x is getting smaller and smaller. 8, then 3, and then that's it. And how many terms does it have, Tyler? It's got 2 terms. And what do we call something that has 2 terms? That's a binomial. Binomial. So we call that a binomial, 2 terms. Degree is the largest exponent. Basically, look at the first guy, right? We already lined it up, biggest to smallest. And Damien, what's the degree of this guy? What's the largest exponent? There we go. Easy peasy. All right, who thinks they got number 3 lined up? I got 5x cubed minus 3x plus 7x to the 5th. Who goes first? What do you think? Colton. Yes, sir. Largest guy right there. Largest exponent. Who's next? Is 5x cubed or 5x to the 3rd, is that guy positive or negative? Yeah, there's no symbol in there, so we assume it's positive. Only way it'd be a minus sign would be if there's a negative in front, and then we're left with a minus 3x. So the powers go from 5, 3 to 1. So final answer there, in standard form, descending order, 7x to the 5th plus 5x cubed minus 3x. All right, what do we call this guy if it has 3 terms? Trinomial. Perfect. So that's something you should know. And then last but not least, degree.
You want me to type?
Sure.
5.
There you go.
But I also have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we okay, so when we're doing the worksheet and stuff, do we have to write can we just write try, by?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, you don't have to write that it has 2 terms. I'm just doing it for our notes to get you thinking about it again. Guys good? All right, we got 2 more. Number 4, I got 4x squared minus 1. How do I write that in descending order?
The same thing.
Yeah, it's already in there, right? So you can just circle that. That's in descending order. That's happened sometimes. Okay. What do we call this guy? It's a polynomial, but be more specific. What do we call it? Yeah, that's a 2 terms binomial. And last but not least, degree. Andreas, what's its exponent? Largest exponent, yep. 2. Perfect. If you call it a polynomial, you're right, but you're not being specific. Okay? That's like calling me a Gotch, but not saying, well, that's Chris Gotch. Right? Be more specific on what the actual name is. Okay? So I take a look at the next one. I got 4a squared plus 2a minus 3 minus a cubed. Morgan, set that up for me. Descending order. Yep. 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 Boom. So that's descending order. How many terms does this thing have, Shayna?
2.
More.
3.
Count how many terms this thing has. Terms are separated by pluses and minuses.
4.
There's 4 terms, right? There's no special name for something with 4 terms, so we just call this a polynomial. No special name. Very good. But we do have a degree of this polynomial. And what is that degree? Meg, what's the degree? Largest exponent. There we go. So we're getting that. These exponents, just make sure we're clear. Degree is coming from the largest exponent. So we got that from this guy. Before we had a squared. On number 2, we had this guy. That's where we're getting that. On this guy. So we're clear. All right, last but not least, y'all. I've got negative 2 minus 5m squared plus 3. Go ahead and set it up for me. What do you got? Dan, you got this thing in descending order?
Negative 5, 2.
M squared.
Yeah.
Negative 2m.
Plus 3.
Plus 3. We count our terms. How many terms do we have, Kai? We have 3 terms. What do you call 3 terms? Trinomial, like triangle. Boom. And degree. Ivan, what's the degree of this guy?
2.
How'd you do that?
So this is the biggest exponent.
There we go. So we got negative 5m squared. That's our first term's exponent. There we go. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. If you take a look, you got your Chapter 8.1 worksheet.